I create a new chat box like this, and then I'm using the QQ UI, and I'll go ahead and resize it like that. So it's a bar. And that helps me determine where I'm lined up. You calibrate it by just running to corners. So you set it up towards the corner you want to aim for, and then you strafe left and forward, or strafe right and forward, whichever one you want to do. And you try to line up with that corner to where it's pretty straight. And you can move it around a little bit until you get it perfect. So that's the basic idea in terms of the race itself. I'm going to run through a couple of straight line turns real quick just to nail that in. So let's say I'm right here on the line for statue. I'm going to line it up with the turn, start my race. Now my strafe left goes a little bit more inward, like I said, so I'm going to just tap strafe right a couple times to adjust. And then here, what I want is I want the fastest turn I can to the next turn. So notice right here, I'm basically gonna go. I want to be shoulder with the corner, and then I want to turn, and I want to be aiming for my next turn or my next target. So in this particular case, I'm aiming for this snow pile. There's a little vertice that you're aiming for on that snow pile. And one marker you can see right here, there's this dark spot on this ridge. That's another marker. So I'll line up with that, and this will take me to the vertice. The vertice is right here. It's this flat spot. I'm aiming for this vertice. I'm going to come up, strafe right, and then let go. Come back over here to my left, and I'm lined up again with the turn here. Okay, so when I hit this turn, that's the same thing, just routine. Going to the next corner here. And then the same thing. I'm going to take a turn to the right, and I'm going to line it up again. And the key is to just keep lining up straight lines the whole race. This one right here, I'm aiming for this spot on the snow pile because this is the vertice that will get me up there. Vertices are the lines of the texture or of the model. So this is what gets me up, but I'm aiming for this corner. I'm coming up here and I'm trying to aim to where I'm basically going right through that corner. So that, again, I'm just a straight line right here. Same thing here, turning left, I'm going to do another straight line. So again, every race is the same in terms of you're just following every straight line. So the first thing you want to do when you learn a race is you want to run the race and see all the straight lines. And you want to line up and practice each one. So let's say I needed to work on that one going up that ramp. Then I'll just go back and I'll run it again and again and again and again and again until I get it perfect. Same thing here. Again, straight lines. Here, sometimes the straight line would be here to this fire pot. If I can't get there because of 60 frames, then I'm going to go, my target is going to be right here on this railing so that I can get across without falling too far downward and running into the fire pot. So my target isn't actually the turn, it's actually the railing. So once I get up on the railing, now my target's the fire pot. So now I'll do my straight line and I'll come over here through the fire pot. Again, straight lines. And then to the target. Okay. So that's the gist of the race itself. Now, starting races. Starting races is important once you learn the race. Most of the race comes down to the run itself in terms of time. Once you've got a good time, then you optimize the start of the race. The more you race something, the slower the time slows down, the slower it becomes. So I can make a lot of mistakes and I can still get a pretty good time because I've just run it so many times that it just becomes, I can make mistakes and that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Other people can't make mistakes. So yeah, like meters, he can't make mistakes. So we'll do a quick, demonstration real quick on this statue. I'm on a test server right now. It's an interesting hole. I think most people are allowed on the server. I have a sound trigger for rolls just when I'm practicing to get consistency. Obviously, all the spawns now are just natural spawns. So, like, let's say right here, let's say I mess up and I don't get over to the snow pile and I got to go around it. Not looking like a good race so far.
What's going on, everybody?
Yep. Just going through some racing stuff real quick.
So, are we gonna go for Yelly with the DA strat?
Hang on, Frank. I'm doing the racing training real quick.
Oh yeah, my bad. I'll drop out.
All right, so 92,735. So sub 93, missing the snow piles, not bad. And so every like that extra second basically feels like it's 3 mistakes. I didn't cut through the fire plots at C and Viz or through the pillars. I missed the first snow pile, and then I went around the fire pot at the end. Okay, now meters, don't roll this off, dude. Whatever you do. I'm going to talk about starts real quick. A couple of things. When you set up a Gina trigger, if you want to practice with sound, you want to do your Gina trigger has a delay to it until it triggers the first time. So anytime I load Gina up and I start it, I have a ready trigger. I just send a tell to ready, and that triggers a sound file. So this is just a random beep sound that I have, and that executes in Gina. You can see it here at the top. Well, yeah, right here. And so that was executed. And now I won't have as much of a delay with every other Gina trigger. So I do that first, and then for my rolls, I have a same thing. That's my sound. And this just allows me to line up and get a consistent start. So this will help me with my overall race time. It's not going to help me with reaction time, though. It'll help me with sound reaction time. But since there's no sound reaction races, it's really not a big deal like it used to be. Used to on rolls, that would be the way to go. Now, we're going to go through pop reaction times as well. But the one thing I want to say about this as well is that the sound is faster. You're going to have a faster reaction time with sound than you are with visual. And the reason for that is that the brain processes the sound faster. Even though you can see things faster, your mind just doesn't process it as fast as sound. Sound almost makes you jump. The other thing is if you turn up the sound. Turning up the sound comes through a lot better than if it's quiet. Your brain doesn't hear it as fast. So you have to almost think about it when you're listening. So you can test this by recording with OBS. So we're going to do that. I'm going to record this one right here. I'm going to hit record, and then I'm going to roll this off, and I'm going to see what my reaction time is. All right, now I'm going to stop the recording. I'm going to watch it. So I like to use this AVI Demix or whatever it's called here. And I'm going to show you all this timer as well here with the racing, so that you guys can see what your race times are. Now, Interesting Hole has a built-in race time in it, but it's not 100%. So I want you guys to. I can send you all a copy of this if you want it. Okay. I think I recorded the. Oh, I see what I did. Okay, I saved the wrong recording. That's what I did. Let's do it again one more time. Sorry, I had two OBSs up. Okay. So I've got it. I've got the video pulled up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use arrow keys to get to the start of the race. So there it is. Good luck. I usually look at movement, or the sorry when the dice hits the 990, but it corresponds with good luck. Okay, so let's count. This is where it starts. So I'm going to tap 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 frames. So I'm using 60 FPS here. The easy way to tell is whatever your settings are. You may have set it in your NVIDIA settings, but you can see here that I'm capping mine at 60. So I've got 11 frame jump right now. And so if you're going to get faster at racing, this is how you do it. You record your starts, you load it into a program like this or YouTube, you set it to 60 frames, or if you're at 120 frames, what I recommend is I would go in 60 frame increments. So I'd go 60, 120, or 180. Pick which frame rate you want to use. Load it here, and then this way you can take the, you can do the right multiplier or division. So if you're running 120 frames, just take the time and reduce it or divide it by 2. So in this particular case, 60 frames, 11 frame jump. And so if I want to get faster, then I need to practice that. So I'm going to do it again. So I'll record it, I'll roll it off again, and this time I'll concentrate even harder on this one. All right, maybe I got it, maybe I didn't. Let's check it. Load the program, pull it back up.
Why is it showing me, not you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It
Oh,
says
you're talking
reaction
about on there?
time.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I might be devoid of it or something. All right, where are we at? See if I can find this thing. There it is. Okay, let's see how much this was. Last one was 11. 11 again. So
Go one more. When does it say my reaction timer comes up on after that?
it doesn't. Oh, you're saying with the video?
Yeah. When does
Nah,
it show the reaction time on your thing for
I
when
don't
it
know.
says?
Let's do it again though. I'm not focused on that meters. The server side, I'm worried about
I'm
client side.
curious what the server side
Ah,
of function is because that's what most people will look at. I mean, not the whatever.
okay, so just do it again. Just load it up. See what we get. All right, that was 10. Cool. So I increased it by 1 frame. Like, 8 to 9% improvement. So that's what you do. That's how you benchmark yourself. So that's what I would do first if you're trying to at least see what kind of reaction time you're working with, is to just start there. Record yourself, get an idea of where you stand today, and then you start making changes and you see how you improve. It's really important that you don't try to improve unorganically until you've reached your consistency. So you want to just try your best, do everything you think you know to do, and then at that point, once you have your average, you know what your minimum is, you know what your maximum is. If you, let's say I get a 9 frame jump, I know that it's possible to get a 9 frame. Let's say I did this 100 times. I know it's possible to get a 9. I know it's also very hard for me to get a 9 because I can do it 100 times and maybe I get it once. But I still know it's possible. So that's a good thing because that tells me I can keep striving for that. And I also know what a really bad reaction time is for me, which would be like 12. And so if I'm hitting 12, then I know something happened. Either I wasn't paying attention or something distracted me or whatever. Something went wrong. And so the more you do this, the more you start seeing what is outside the deviation. And then you can account for that. And you get faster and faster. Again, time slows down because you're used to it. Be right back, guys. One sec. Okay, let's continue. So I've gone through the frame analysis. So this is something you're going to want to do, whether it's a visual reaction or a sound reaction. So I'm gonna close this out now. We'll come back to this. The other thing is just the time itself. So we clocked one time just for fun on statue. This server has a built-in timer. It's somewhat accurate. It's pretty close. It used to be way off. The other thing you do is you can. Some people have created these log readers for their times, and so I think Riot was one of the first guilds that made one, and then Vanquish made one. And what you do is you load your logs. So I'm going to pick mine right here, and then you can see the time after I get the FTE here. So I'll go ahead and run this. If you guys are just joining in, you probably missed a couple of things already, but I'm just going to keep going. So here you can practice it with the DA or without the DA, just until you get it down. You don't need to add complexity to it yet. Like right there, I just clicked on the DA. I didn't really have to do it. Okay, so we got a time. So now what I'll do is I can compare that time to here, which I guess I clicked on the wrong log file. I don't know what I did wrong there. I don't know why it's not showing up. But I've got the interesting whole time. I'll try it again in a second here. But what I want to do is I want to try to beat this time over and over. This is my benchmark time. So the more I run this, the more I get a better idea of where I stand. So I'll show you an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm going to pull up some of the historical racing times I have, just like different things. So like here's an example, right? So I've got a bunch of times and I just logged them, and this gives me an idea of where I stand. So sometimes I've got like a 92, 91.7, a 91.75, 91.8. You get the idea. And so I put arrows next to some of the faster times. And I try to get an idea of what my best times are, what my worst times are, but then also, this gives me again what I can expect. So for these 92s, I probably made a mistake. 1 second. Okay. So I've got also a lot of other notes here, like whether or not I'm using like space bars or different keys, different things like that. And so this gives me an idea of like what my best response is with like which fingers or what. So what I recommend for you guys is play with it. So sometimes like I tested with the mouse clicks with the wand, which I think is actually faster than pressing the hotbar. I tested my right hand versus my left hand, space bar versus a W key versus the tilde key versus the numpad enter versus all these different keys. And so I tested all those and I just drilled it down lower and lower and lower. So as I drilled it down lower and lower and lower, I went from 14 frame reaction times down to 13, down to 12, down to 11, increased the volume down to 10, and then finally like putting weight on my finger and stuff like that. Obviously that's a little bit easier with a roll race because you kind of have an idea it's about to go. So you don't really on a live race, that's a lot harder. But just all those little things add up. And so if one of you guys were to benchmark your reaction times right now, you would probably be between 14 and 18 frames. And then if you made these little tweaks I'm telling you right now, you could probably drill it down to the same time as I have, if not better. So we're going to look at race on spawn now. And so the problem with race on spawn is that it's harder to practice because you really need that variance or that variance in the timer to react to. If you know it's coming, your reaction time is not going to be tested very well. If I know something's going to spawn in the next minute, it's a lot harder than something that's going to spawn in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. An interesting hole has it set up to, I think it's 5 minutes. And so that's a really good thing to test on. And I'm going to just play some videos as an example of that, just to show you what I mean. So these videos are on the test server, and they give you a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. So I've got some, let's see, where are they? Yeah, here we go. So these were some test ones I did here on the test on this server. And so I'm just waiting for the spawn. And then I record, I'm recording, and then I react to it, and then I play it back, and I count my frames. Once again, frame analysis. So I'm gonna go hit the forward button. I think with YouTube it's the period button. I gotta stop it, redo it. Okay, so pause it, go up to the spawn point. Yep, right here, and then period to go move forward. All right, so there's where it starts. So now I'm gonna count my reaction. 18 frames. That is my fastest reaction ever that I've ever had on anything. I've never had an 18 frame reaction time on a live race ever. I've only done it on the test server. But that tells me that if I'm fast enough, I should be able to do it on the live server too.
How are you knowing you're off the line in this position?
Because I'm setting my camera view on change. So here's my hotkey setup. My movement, I like to use the tilde key. That's my race key. Forward and strafe left. But then what I'll also do is, like on my Bard, I'll set 6 to stop song, which I'll show you a video of. And I'll also do camera, and I'll change to first person view. So when I'm watching statue, I'm in third person view, and I usually F9 it a couple times. So I'll go, and F9 is my camera angle. So I'll F9 a couple times and I'll rotate. And when I start racing, watch, flips back to first person.
So you're doing your forward movement, your left strafe, and your camera back is all the same.
Exactly. And stop song and hide corpse all. And then I started adding a new one, which you can see in this video here. Wherever it is, right here. I'm hiding my UI. So now I'm not distracted. So now watch, oh, and there's another thing I add, which is commands, use center screen. Now I'll unbind it when I'm not racing because it's annoying. But when I am racing, use center screen. I put that as tilde as well. And what that does is in one button, I can do a bunch of things. I can show my UI. So watch, playing this video, there's statue, there's my reaction. So you know my reaction because my UI pops up and my camera view changes. So I'm actually showing my UI. And then I'm using my stop song So you can see there's the reaction. And then there's the stop song, which is my 6, which is also hide corpse all, which that should also hide all the corpses. There it is. There's all the corpses gone. All right, so now I know I'm racing. So now I just got to click off my blind sight. And I do make my 2 adjustments. And that's my setup for my initial race start. I've got all those things, but I figured those things out over time with all the different mistakes I made, like not stopping song, not getting a pre-target. Use center screen gives me a pre-target. So right now, I don't have statue targeted. And the way I test that is I'll F9 it, I'll rotate it towards statue, and I'll I'll deselect the corpse that's in the room, and I'll press U to make sure I don't select anything. Sometimes I'll get a giant, so I need to adjust the camera. So I just keep hitting U until I don't select anything. And that tells me as long as I'm facing towards the center of the, where statue spawns, I'm definitely going to get him targeted. So then I get my pre-target and I don't have to click him. So that helps. So I'm doing a bunch of things all in one button to make life a lot easier. Now, if for some reason I don't get him targeted, then obviously I got to click him when I get into the room. I've pretty much lost every race you can think of in one way or another where someone's corpse was in the way and I couldn't click statue. That's why I hide corpses. I didn't stop my song. I clicked it, but I didn't stop song. So then I started playing the song on my turn. I missed my turn. And then of course getting distracted by guild chat. So then this is the latest thing I added was making it to where I don't see any guild chat. That can also be a bad thing. So you gotta kind of take it with a grain of salt. But so going past that, back to what I was talking about with frame analysis and live spawns. This one was pretty quick. Let me see. Actually, no, this one wasn't pretty quick. This one was just average, I think, for me. I'm just gonna move it up to the spawn, stop it, go back. All right, and I count from here.
What is this? What are you doing? Are you teaching other people how to race or?
All right, there's 24 frames. All right, so that was 24. That's about average, maybe 24 to 26. So here's a KT. Now KT, I can't use center screen because I'm targeting the guard to the right. And so I don't want to target KT. That would be a bad idea. So same thing. I'm going to do the same type of frame analysis. $35. So that one's way up, that's much different from 26. So a lot of these, you'll see that some starts are faster than others. I think general principle is if you're under 30, you're really good. And if you're over 35, you need to start optimizing. I think this one was a pretty quick start here. But I think I made a mistake on the race.
Is every button that you push slowing you down when
It's
it comes to timing?
Are you talking about what I'm doing right now, or are you talking about when I'm
In
racing?
general, like if you're racing, because when I'm off the line, I don't have. I'm imagining me having to click more than one button in the same way that the game slows you down if you're not doing a straight line. That do you think that the game slows you down just based on the registry of information?
No, I don't think so. No. So this is probably the fastest I've ever had in game, which is 22 frames. I think I might have had a 21. I don't know. Maybe 22. I might have had a fear golem at 21. So what I do for fear golems, let me see if I can find one. Okay, that one didn't get the actual race. I'll do a screen. Oh, I have a lot of those on my. Okay, this one doesn't show the screen share either. Let me find a
Venice, what are you
Hey,
teaching?
Dr. Bob. Hey, I'm in the middle of this right now. Hang on.
What are you teaching these people? You teach them racing and stuff?
Yeah, we're going through race tutorials. All right, so if you're looking at a screen share, you can use OBS and you can overlay it. So this is what I do here, and that's how you can judge your reaction too. So you can see that's where it prog spawns. So then I would just go back and then I would check that out. And then I would just do my frame analysis. So you just, again, count your frames. Okay, so that's the general idea. If you really want to get faster and faster, you have to gauge yourself. You have to know where you are today. Do it enough times. Do it like 10 times. Get an idea. And then from there, make your changes and see how it impacts you. So that's the gist on frame analysis. Now, the one thing I'm not going to cover is like getting out of statues room and stuff like that. That's just basic stuff. That's just, you got to FT it. You got to hit your DA. You got to click off your DA, hit your DA. Generally you can racing Kael with a level 20 ogre. Ogres are the best because they can get over the snow little glitches and hills and stuff faster. It's not really stuff like this, but whenever you get up there towards KT, usually anything going left isn't going to be impacted by ogre size. It could be any size. You can be shrunk the whole time. And then anything on the right side, this is where you need your height right here. So generally you want to do earth elemental pot, click it off, go back big so you can get over this spot and then get up this spot. Whereas if you're a wood elf or something, you're going to have to run around those and that's going to lose time. So I have to run around it and I have to come over here, run around it, come back over. Okay. But in terms of getting the FTEs, like I'm focusing more on the race. Obviously, another thing that happens whenever you're going to actually get the FTE, you don't hit your wand fast enough, and so a lot of people will they'll hesitate, and so they'll just hit it too late. I think it's always better to start hitting it early. Just make sure you have multiple charges on your wand. At least 3 charges. This way, when you may burn a charge out of range because it's a bug, but you have a couple extra charges left. So when you start approaching the target, that's when I would start hitting your wand. Thimble wands are good because you can't life tap yourself, which is good. So you can't make any mistakes. So when in doubt, for a lot of different targets, you can always target yourself, especially if you're out of range of that target at first and you have time to click it. Getting out of statues room, again, I'm not going to show you that, but generally what you'll do is you'll DA into the room, whether you're a shaman with an idol, whether you're a bard with Kazumis, and you'll get DFT and then you'll try to DA out. Now, shamans only get 1 DA unless they have a DA earring. You can get a DA earring off in the room. It's a little bit tricky. If you're racing on a shaman, it's better to have at least 2 people racing with you because that way you're like if you suicide into statue getting the FT, somebody can also put aggro into statue and then they can bring it home. So keep that in mind if you're racing on a shaman. One thing I will note when you race on a bard is that if you Kazumis here right before Vendi, it may wear off because Kazumis only has to last basically the 12 seconds. So if you're racing and you Kazumis there, then it could wear off like right as you're going into the room. So let's say you go through the pot, you wrap around here, and you get here, it could pop off right here. And now you're going to face plant into these 2 giants. So it's very, sometimes you may have to mix it up. If Fendi's at the end of the bridge, you may have to idle first. And then when you idle, you'll have to come in here. You'll have to get the FTE, click off the idle here, FTE it, pop a def dance. And then at that point, you're basically going to want to bomb the armor and turn, cast your Kazumis, and then you're going to want to run out like that. And that's basically how you'd get out of the room if Vendi was at the end of the bridge. So that's the gist on how, in terms of DA and getting out of the room. You just usually you get the FTE here, you turn to your right or left, you go up the ramps, and then you get out of here. In terms of zone racing, so I set up a Gina trigger. Like let's say I'm racing for a Tuner, or let's say I'm racing for Fear Golems. Okay, I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna zone over to Waking Lands. And what I did was, depending on my racing characters, I have this zoned text that pops up. Let me move that over.
This is too good of a secret right here.
Okay, so I think this is it. I think I put it under the urgent. I don't know if that's right. Let me look. Nope, that wasn't it. I just messed up my whole UI. It's definitely not default. I guess I can click on it and look. Important. Okay. Important is tied to important. Oh, I didn't see an important overlay. Did I miss it? Oh,
It's on
yeah.
your left.
Yeah, that's right. It's a text. It's not timer. Sorry, I missed the text. All right, there it is. All right, so let's zone over. Now, so you can use sound for this too. The problem I found with sound is it's too fast. So there's my zone text. Sometimes I would hit my race button, or I'd start running, and I wouldn't actually be running because I hadn't like it's like almost like I didn't finish zoning before the text popped up. But this is what it would look like. Let's say I'm racing for statue and I have to zone in. There's my text. I'm going to hit my strafe forward and strafe right. Now, obviously, that flipped me around on this server. This is really good for Dane. There's a lot of races where it's not good for. Like Tuner, it's not good for that. And for actually moving, but it is good for casting your silos. So what I do is I have my silos button is, it could be whatever your hotkey is. Let's say I put in my first cast, first slot, my spell bar. I could just sign that as a shortcut, or I could just make a button that says cast 1. And so as soon as I zone over, or as soon as I see that yellow text pop up, I'll go ahead and press that button and start casting my silos now. And then I'll once I actually see where I landed, then I'll start moving. This way I don't actually do something crazy like flip the wrong direction. So I start the silos cast while I'm effectively zoning. Well, I've technically zoned, but the screen doesn't change instantly. There's a delay between the zone and the screen load. So in that delay, I can go ahead and start casting my silos. Now
Wait,
the other
explain that again, Deso, so I can learn too.
When you're zoning, you don't instantly show up in the next zone after you've zoned. You zone, and then there's a slight delay before your interface changes.
Can I explain it slightly? Where there's a syncing that happens always between your game, the client side, and the server side. And so basically what Deso is explaining to you is that before your client side registers that you've zoned, your client side has connected to the server. And right behind that, you could enter another command that's going to load up right behind, and it's going to be ready to go. It's just you're syncing into like what's happening without it happening yet is the best way to describe it.
So you can click silos while you're zoning.
Correct.
You're technically not doing it while you're zoning. You're technically doing it after you've zoned, but before you've loaded, like your screen's loaded.
So
Yeah,
when
the same thing happens when you have an enter button and you have text. You can start sending a tell to somebody, and after you zone, you're still typing. You will see the rest of the text that you've missed and the text that you've continued to write right when the zone actually happens.
Be right back. 1 second, guys.
That's how I discovered it myself, actually. That trick is probably the best trick right there.
So where's everyone from around here?
Brooklyn,
Oh, what guild you in?
in Kingdom on Green.
Oh, okay. Where's everyone else here? It's Snicklefitz and Pijon and where you guys at?
Oh, I'm in the Northeast.
But what guild are you in?
I am in Kittens.
Meow.
Meow!
Indeed.
Snicklefitz. It's such a kitty name. Kitty cat. I'm actually hanging out with this guy from Kittens right now. We're farming Reapers together. How is Green doing so far? You guys don't have SEAL team over there anymore, so how's Kingdom doing it?
It's the same guild, technically. It's just different people come and go, just like you see on Blue. And the same like lineage of people move from like. So I was in SEAL team for like the better, it's like 2 years and like 3 months or something like that. 2 years and 3 months. And then I went to Kingdom because a lot of the people I played with had stopped
Okay.
playing.
Couple of more things. So the other thing is, one thing that impacts your zoning time is the items in your inventory and what you're wearing. So if you want to zone extremely fast, you need to empty out your bank and all of your items. So ideally, if you're racing and you're zoning, you would clear everything out. You'd be on a naked racer, and every item you add to that character would just slowly increase your load time. So if you make a level 1 halfling and you zone in and out of Misty Thicket, You can look your logs and you could say, okay, I've zoned in 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, or whatever. And then if you stack your bank with a bunch of junk and your character all a bunch of bags and armor, then you zone. Now you're up to 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds, or whatever it is. So if you're optimizing for racing, you want to strip your character down to basically being naked. So that's why sometimes you'll see people sitting at the Tunera tree and they won't be wearing anything, or they'll be wearing very little, or they'll be racing for Dane on a naked gnome or a halfling. Whatever it is, if you're doing zone racing. Now, the downside with fear is that if you race on a naked character, you're probably going to get killed. There's a compromise there. Compromises, maybe you empty out your bank for your fear racer, but maybe you leave all your gear on, in terms of resist and AC and hit points. So keep that in mind. If you're racing for Dane, you're not getting hit. So you can run on a level 1. If you're racing for Takish in your faction, okay, you just need minimum sow speed and silos. So you can do it on a 50 bard. That's pretty much those are pretty much all the zone races that exist right now. So, in other cases, it doesn't really matter whether or not you have gear. If you're racing for VP, you might as well be stacked with all the AC hit points you can, because you're not going to be zoning. The same thing would go for if you're racing for Dozakar. You want to make sure that you have all of your hit points, gear, etc. So that's another tip. The frame optimization or the frame analysis is the most important part of getting faster. If you, number one, and Meters hates this, but the biggest thing you can do is pay attention. Be there is number one, and paying attention is number 2. If you're not there, you can't win a race. If you're not paying attention, then you're sacrificing your race potentially. So if I'm clicked off, which I'll give you a perfect example, I'm pretty sure I have a million examples of this. And one of them was with Gore, right here. He blamed the noob, even though he didn't do anything. So you can see I was typing there. And so that cost me my race. So there I am typing, and he had spawned. And I still tried to react as quick as I could. Just wasn't quick enough. And now look, you got multiple people ahead of me. Now, anytime you see someone on your screen, it generally means they're ahead of you. If you can see anything about that character, they are probably ahead of you. If you can't see someone, generally means you're at least even or ahead of them. So I'll give you an example of that. So here's a race between me and Fuhrer a while ago. It's just one of many. But look at us race at the same time. Notice when we start seeing each other. It's kind of almost like a mirror. I think I'm on the right and he's on the left. Kabul's recording this. So he's got both of our screen shares open. We don't see each other at all right now.
Notice the Sharpie marker drawn on the monitor so they know where to go.
This is back before we used the chat boxes to line up.
Yeah, the Sharpie markers on your screen.
We still don't see each other. And there you go. You see me clip into the screen. I'm ahead. So the second I clip into his view, that's it. He knows I'm ahead at this point. And so it's my race to lose. Now, I don't see him. So I don't know. He could still be even with me. But I knew I was ahead because I was looking at his screen share at the same time. So, but generally I would not stop. I would, assume that he's still right there neck and neck with me and that anybody could get the FT. So if you're racing against two people, if 2 people are racing and they're pretty close to the same speed, same jump or whatever it is, you won't even see that person in your view if you're not going third person. So he went third person, I think around here. And you could see you could see where everybody was in relation, but it's still kind of hard to check. Like, So
It
we'll
was
pause
after the pillars.
right
and
here.
He goes, there you go.
So
There's
see,
that.
he can't really tell where I am so much because with the strafe glitch means it goes from like the furthest back to the furthest forward, and generally the furthest forward is your marker. So he can't tell right here if I'm at the furthest back point, or if I'm in the middle of it, or if I'm at the front. So he has no idea how far up I am.
Do texture packs impact this at all?
I don't think so. He runs a texture pack. I don't run one. So that's what it looks like. Let's see if I can find another one. Well, here's one. This is a recent one. Yeah, this is the one that I had shown earlier. This one I thought Thugly was racing with me. And so I just assumed right now he was with me the whole time. Like I looked back even, I didn't see him right there, but I was like, somehow he might be like on over me or something like that. So I was like, well, I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to keep going for it. So you have to be, real cautious that if you're racing someone real quick, they could be right next to you. VP. Okay, there's certain zones where it's better to race in 120 frames. So this right here, my traditional game is 60, right? But then I've got another instance right here. So I've got a copy of the game with the patch, the new patch. And this one is 120 frames. So I can get on either one I want. So if I'm racing for VP, I probably want to load my 120 frame. And the reason why is because I can run over the Hosh layer. I can go straight up the ramp from Picture Room and run straight over the layer and go right into Zygoz with 120 frames. I can't do that with 60. So I still play 60 traditional, but 120 has its merits in certain races.
Say that again. Say that one more time. I missed what you said.
Well, I'm just saying
said-
120 is better for VP in other certain instances.
Can you levitate over a balcony from top of balcony to Zygoz? Did you just say that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured. You just said.
So if you're going to race in VP, you have to race with more than 60 frames. If you're going to be highly competitive and you're going to go for Zygoz. So keep that in mind, that you can have two clients. I just copied my EQ folder. I renamed it. I think I call it EverQuest Frame or something. And then I just put the patch in there. And then I updated my VSync to off in that one. Whereas on 60, I have VSync on. And that unlocks me to 120. And I set my NVIDIA frames to 120 cap for EverQuest. And so I'm able to, yeah, here it is. I don't know if I did it for program or if I did it global. I think I maybe did just global. No, I don't know. Maybe I turned it off. Oh wait, no, here it is. Yeah, it's on EverQuest. 120 FPS, yeah. But now that's just, I don't know. I think that's just the normal one. So I think it's not even, I don't even have a cap on the new patch. But anyway, bottom line is you want to just get your frame rates up. So if you want to race for certain races with 120 and get that levitate benefit, then make sure you're using higher frames.
So something like with Gore, you need lower frames, right?
No, not necessarily. I raced Gore with 120 last time, and it was pretty good. Yeah, this was it here. And see, I have my fraps in the corner. You can see it. It's probably better anytime you're levitated and you're going a decent distance, because I'm going to maintain my height here better with 120 frames.
You should explain how you set up the non-sync versus sync motion.
Yeah, and that's pretty common. I mean, people can if If you have questions, a lot of you guys, I guess just to keep it simple, I would recommend go downloading fraps.com. Go to fraps.com, download it. It's a quick install. Just download, install it, run it, and then you get this yellow frame rate in your upper corner, and then you just turn it off. So I don't leave it running all the time. I just leave it running every now and then for videos and stuff. So the other thing you could do, also important, is checking your frames when you're looking at videos. So if some dude's like, "Oh, I watched this race or whatever," and you right click it and you go to stats for nerds, sometimes it's like 30 FPS. See, this is 60. So if it's 30, then obviously you're going to have different markers there, right? So if I have a 11 frame jump on a 60 FPS, then naturally, if you divide that by 2, it's going to seem like I'm cheating at that point, right? But it's not. It's 30 FPS. So take that into account. Or 120 frames. So if you're running 120 frames, now you have to do that same thing. Now YouTube, I think when you upload 120 frames, I think it goes to 60. I think it's just the highest it goes to. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens. I think that's what happened with that Gore race. So if I right click it, stats, see 60. So it was 120 FPS, but when you upload to YouTube, it goes down to 60. So the same thing with your jumps. If you're going to record your frame, you need to account for that. So if I'm running 120 and I'm logging, I'm doing frame analysis, and at that point I need to say, okay, if I'm doing 11 at 60, then maybe I'm doing 22 at 120. Maybe I'm 21. Maybe I'm 23. And then it's like, how low can I get it? Can I get to 20? Can I get to 19? Is that possible? I don't know. I have to test it. So that's exactly what I would do. So, analyzing like 100 to 200 or 300 or however many I have done, you realize you just practice something new and new and new, and you just keep testing it, and then eventually you'll narrow down your time. I'm trying to think what else. I went through at the very beginning about straight lines. Every race is just a series of straight lines. Your straight line is from one point to the next point, which is generally a turn. And then once you make your turn, you go to the next straight line. And so you just break every race down like that. Maintaining your buffs, I haven't really gone through maintaining buffs. Naturally, like my UI is set up a little differently. If you look at, see, this isn't a race UI right here. This isn't like my race UI. My race UI looks like this. And I have everything like smaller out of the way because I've made mistakes where I click on the chat box. I'm pretty sure I have a video of that as well, but I don't know if I saved it. This might have been it. So here I go. Clicking. I don't know if this is it or not. I think I would have already done it. Yeah, I don't think this was it. Yeah, I don't think I saved it. For good reason, damn it. But
Thanks,
yeah.
Deso. I'm gonna take off.
Yeah, see you, dude. So I click on my chat boxes, and if I right click on them like that pops up, and I get screwed. So I made them smaller, and then I would put my buff bar down below, where I can easily click off DA. I like to keep my top slot a junk buff, and then I click that off before I Kazumi's. And that way I always know where it's going to go. Now, sometimes I make a mistake. Sometimes it goes in a slot I don't want it to go in. But that's generally something that helps. So I move my buffs down here by the target bar. This way, if I don't have statue targeted, it's just like a click and then a click off the DA. Dane. Staff of Runes. So if you In order to FT Dane while he's in his bedroom, you have to have a Staff of Runes because it's the only thing that will go through the wall. So let's pretend like it's nighttime. I'm running the Dane race. Here I go. I'm not good at it. Da da da. All right, here. If it's daytime, I can get the FT on Ryan right here. And the shortest distance would be right here. Boom. I hit this point in the wall and I just hit my wand right on Ryan. So I have 2 target buttons. I have one for Dane and one for Ryan. If it's daytime, I'll target Ryan. If it's nighttime, I'll target Dane. And then I'll FT it here like that. And then I'll just run around like this. If it's nighttime and Dane's in the bedroom, okay, let's pretend like I have him. I hit my hotkey to target him, so I know he's in the bedroom because I couldn't target him from the gate. If you target him from the gate, then I know it's daytime. So I've got him targeted. I'm gonna have my Staff of Runes. I'm gonna run over the well like this, and I'm gonna hit my button, spam it while I'm running over the well. So I'm running it over the well. I'm spamming it. It's gonna hit him like this right here. This is the line of sight. You could do the hell test. So out of line of sight, in line of sight. So I run over the well like that. So you could see that that in practice by going to some of these old race videos I have. Let's see, here we go. This one's a fun one. So I've got my screen share up like I was doing with OBS. There you spawned. Some people were faster than me on the jump, but guess what? I'm naked, so I'm gonna zone really fast. Notice how I started moving before the screen changed because I started hitting my strafe forward. Being a gnome is the best race you can be on this race because you get under the gate faster. Everybody else isn't optimized for this race for the most part. You use your jumps for your endurance, and then you try to go into your levering. I don't know what people were thinking going right. Same thing here. Get the notification, boom, start going. Okay, so at this point, I'm actually strafing the opposite direction because whenever I zoned in, I hit strafe right and forward. Use the opposite I usually do, but I run over the well, boom, get the FT with the staff, and then just run right down. So that's what the Staff of Runes does. So you can't do it with the wand. You can't do it with Thimble Wand. You can't do it with the Wand of Frostbolts. You got to do it with a Staff of Runes. And there's other, it's kind of like the hate stuff. You know how you can pull minis in hate? And this is me trying to type. I can't type. I'm like, secondary. Can't lose this. That was a fun one, though. Okay. I think I've covered most of it now. Trying to think what else. I think that's it. If I think of something else, maybe I'll host another one. But straight lines, run the race a lot, practice your jumps, do the frame analysis. The frame analysis is the biggest thing you could do. Lower your times frame by frame. Talk to each other. Talk to people. Ask them, hey, dude, how are you getting 12 frames? I'm getting 14. How are you getting 10 frames? I'm getting 11. And so on. And keep working it down slower, more and more until you get to a consistent. If you can hit 10 consistently, it's really good. Like me, I just hit 11 like 3 times out of 4. I got like 110. So it was, it's pretty tough. That's with sound. And then obviously visual, same thing. Do the same thing. Try to get under 30. I think an average is for me is like 26. And then some people on Koth races are really fast. Like they'll hit 22s and stuff. which is really hard for me to do. So I usually can't win Koth races. So the benefit for me in racing is generally I'm just sitting there waiting, paying attention to it. And other people don't want to do it. And that's what helps me get a leg up on them. Because I know if I'm just sitting here and I'm ready to go, I'm probably going to be, in the top 2 racers. All right, that's all I got for you guys. If you have any questions, send me a DM.
Thanks, dude.
Appreciate it.